If I've learned anything from the living will of my 95-year-old ex-fiancé, it's that one simple change can ruin a decade's worth of the best laid plans. But luckily, on guitar, one simple change can totally change your entire perspective on the instrument and maybe give you some new insights into how to kind of approach it. So today we're going to do something really simple. We're going to go to drop D. So we hit the D string, there's a D, down tune the low E string until you get the same note, okay? So D to D. Now we're just going to be focusing on the lowest three strings. So we have a D, an A, and a D, okay? I'm rocking out the Donner acoustic because Donner starts with a D, and that seemed like a cool thing to do. Also because it's super inexpensive, and there's an affiliate link in the description if you're interested in something like that. But yeah, it's drop D. So all that means is we have a very, very easy way to play what's kind of like a power chord scale just using the lowest three strings, okay? So first what we're going to do is we're going to go through the D major scale, and we're going to go through it this way instead of a hand shape. A lot of other videos, mine included, show like a major scale like this. Right, let's start on the D on the A string, the 5th fret, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 4, 6, 7, right? We're going to go this way, all right? So intervals is how we're going to spell out the major scale. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. If you don't have that committed to memory, make sure you do that this time, okay? No regrets. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Just like no regrets for my 10 years of unspeakable deeds that ended in that terrible lawyer's office. All right, so whole, whole, half, what that means is a whole step is 2 frets. So if we start on the E string, which is now a low D string, we go a whole step, we go to the 2nd fret. Another whole step, the 4th fret. Half step, 5th fret. Whole, 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 half. Okay, so I think playing this way, going back and forth, is really going to help your ears out too. We're going to talk about some cool stuff you can do in this tuning. But yeah, open, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12. Okay? Now, those are just the notes in the D major scale. The great thing about this tuning is we have a D and another D, right? The string right here, the 4th string. I like to call this the 3rd string because I think outside the box. I think differently. It's the same thing, right? So these are the same notes. Open, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12. But you may be asking, why would I skip the A string? You don't have to skip the A string. The beautiful thing about an open A in the key of D, D, E, F sharp, G, A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the 5th, okay? The 5th is a very, very important note in any key, and it sounds great pretty much with anything that you could do here. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go through those same notes in the D major scale just on this, the old regular D string, but now we're adding an open D and an open A to each one, okay? So we're starting with this. D, A, and then 2 on the traditional D string. 2, 4, 5. Okay? And now because we're having these kind of drone notes, it sounds more like music already and less like a scale. But really we're just going up the scale. We could continue on. Right? Then it starts to sound more like a scale. But I want you to start thinking left to right. Okay? Horizontally, one might even say. Okay, so there's a lot that you can do with this, and I really think it trains your ear and kind of opens up a whole new perspective to playing, because it's really like the simplest form of alternate tuning that you could do. It doesn't take a long time to do. You don't even really need a tuner to do it because you can always tune to existing strings on your guitar. You can tune back using the high E string if you want, all right? So really, it just kind of I think it's cool to cut this in half, right? So maybe the first part of this is... You'll notice that my pick is never really going farther than the lowest 3 strings. So what we're also practicing is kind of like a selective picking. All right, so maybe once you have that under your belt, let's start thinking about past here. We have the 7th, the 9th, and the 11th fret. Okay, So use your ear to just make something kind of interesting. There's really no way to make this sound bad as long as you're hitting the right notes. And again, it's ingraining those intervals, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, into your playing, which I think is very, very important. So the other thing that you can do is to get more of like a rock sound. The heaviness that really is afforded the drop D tuning is just by barring all three of these low strings, right? We do the same thing. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Okay, so when we do it this way, when we kind of take each one of those notes and turn them into power chords, I guess, we are kind of adding one note outside of the key. The 7th degree in any major scale has what's called a flat 5. So technically, that C sharp is a little bit different, but it still sounds pretty good in this key, right? So again, just think of the intervals. No way to make it sound bad, okay? And I really think that it's just an easy way to really train your ear to hear that major scale more and the intervals within it. I just know that I personally became such a better guitar player once I was able to kind of recognize the scale degrees and where I was within a major scale, that eventually my hand just started to guess right more than it guessed wrong. And even though this is an alternate tuning and you may not always play in drop D, I do think that it's really great ear training because it just has a little something different to it that gets you outside of maybe your more traditional shapes and chord voicings and stuff, in just a very easy, accessible way that you can still use a lot of your existing chord voicings and shapes, anything rooted on the A string, right? You know, you can still play like all the D chords. But you can still have that low D kind of just anchoring it down and adding a little bit of a drone to solidify everything together, okay? So yeah, again, I think it's cool just to kind of keep an extra guitar in drop D, just because who can be bothered to actually tune one string down a whole step? I was being sarcastic there, but actually I was also kind of telling the truth. Anyways, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for checking it out. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, Patreon, or the website, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.